Battle Act. Introduced by Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, Cory Booker, Richard Blumenthal, and Alex Padilla, the bill would cap active Supreme Court service at 18 years. After that, justices would transition to handling only original jurisdiction cases or stepping in for conflicts of interest. It would also establish a predictable schedule, appointing a new justice every 2 years while leveraging Congress's authority over appellate jurisdiction. Talking about this on American Family Radio, attorney Mike Donnelly said Congress does have some say over these kinds of things.
Congress has a lot of authority when it comes to creating exceptions and regulations for the court.
Supporters say the measure would restore public trust and curb long-term power accumulation, especially following high-profile conservative rulings like Dobbs, which overturned Roe v. Wade. However, critics point out that liberals were notably silent when the court handed down left-leaning rulings like the one in Obergefell v. Hodges. While Donnelly questions the political motivations, he says the overall debate over the court's workload is one worth having.
I have often said the court is too small. It's a lot of work for the court. If we had more judges, we could probably do more work. Is this the right way to do it? I'm not sure. I need to think about it a little bit more, but that's kind of what's going on here with this case.
I'm Chris Woodward.
And finally, a Civil War treasure trove discovered on a Mississippi man's property.
A Mississippi man finding dozens of Civil War relics buried on his property, including 200 Civil War-era cannonballs. In addition to the cannonballs, metal detectors also revealed canister shot, grape shot, and K-shot military munitions on Harold Knight's property in Boonville, all believed to have been connected to the Battle of Boonville or the Battle of Blackland in 1862 between Union and Confederate forces. Sue Guzman, Fox News.
For American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh.
The God Who Speaks is a powerful message on the authority of Scripture in the voices of some of the most respected theologians of our day.
The most historic formula for the Christian church has been this: when the Scripture speaks, God speaks.
The God Who Speaks is a 90-minute documentary which can empower Christians to share our faith and defend the authenticity of the Bible. Available at thegodwhospeaks.org or visit stream.afa.net. We inform.
Religious freedom is about people of faith being able to live out their faith, live out their convictions, no matter where they are.
We equip.
Sacred honor is the courage to speak truth, to live out your free speech.
We also rejoice in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope.
This is At the Core on American Family Radio.
Welcome to At the Core with Walker Wildmon and Rick Green. I'm Rick Green, America's Constitution Coach. Appreciate you joining us today. We've got a couple of great interviews for you, but then I've also got an extremely important announcement and a request for your help. And I'm not going to, this is not an exaggeration to say it is an existential threat to Patriot Academy and to our amazing campus in Constitution City, Texas. A lot of people think that the Islamic invasion and the spread across the country is not going to happen in their backyard. Everybody's like, I don't have to worry about that. That's happening over in England, or that's happening in Australia, maybe in Minneapolis, maybe in Dearborn, Michigan, but not in my backyard, not in the red, 80% Republican county where I live. Well, folks, I've got a story today that's going to shake you. And a plea for help, because we are facing an existential threat at Patriot Academy. And I'll just say this, and then I want to get to our interviews, and then in the final segment today, I'll give you the rest of the details. But I'll just give you this quick summary. One of the largest and most dangerous Islamic organizations in America is trying to take over the property right next to the Patriot Academy campus. And it's a real threat, and it's a serious threat. So we'll talk about it in the final segment. Right now, let's get an update on similar subject from around the world, terrorism around the world, and some of the things that are happening right now. Obviously Iran, but a big update. Rudy Atala was just with me on the Wall Builders program, and it's just too good of an update to not share with you here on American Family Radio. Rudy is one of the best experts in the world. He's received all kinds of awards. He's served our country incredibly well, has been an advisor to the president, does all kinds of amazing things, and does a lot of things behind the scenes to rescue Christians around the world. Just an incredible friend to at the core and to the Wall Builders program, and just always enjoy having him on. So we're going to visit with Rudy about the hot spots around the world. Here's Rudy Atala.
Thank you so much for having me back. This is great.
Well, so much has happened since the last time we had you on, which was not that long ago, but that's the world we're in right now, man. Just constant changes. And we were talking the other day on the show about the whole Syria thing and just some of these seismic shifts around the world. And of course, as always, when we get on that topic, it's like, okay, I wonder where Rudy is. We got to get him on. So anyway, appreciate it, bro. Well, let me just toss it to you first. I mean, what do you think the most important thing to update our listeners on right now?
Oh gosh, I can spend hours going down the list. I mean, obviously Iran is up there, Lebanon, Syria. I know you guys were interested to talk briefly about the Syria coming off the state sponsor of terrorism list.
Yeah, let's go there first. Yeah,
that's fine. So basically, on that, there's a 45-day congressional notification window, which we're in right now. So they won't come off the list until the end of probably August. And once they do, that basically opens up the floodgates of banks and investors to come into Syria and see what's available. I mean, Syria's been basically closed door now for over 17 years. And there's opportunity, but again, we got to keep in mind that the leader of Syria is a former terrorist, a reformed terrorist. So he's still a former Al Qaeda guy.
Would you dive into that a little bit, because we talked about this and we were trying to figure out, how do you know, right? But if apparently he was kind of in it's either Al Qaeda or ISIS situation. Do you think he is a reformed terrorist? I mean, is he literally? I don't know if I could say a good guy, but is he a manageable guy that we can actually do business with? Because that's what it means, right? When we take him off the terror list, now we're going to do business with him.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we brought him to the White House, and he definitely had a good time with President Trump. So
no kidding.
He was. I mean, President Trump was joking around with the guy, called him a tough guy, but this guy was a product of a lot of Turkish intelligence. And so the Turks want to keep him in place. They use him as a vehicle, essentially, to get control of Syria, which making it, they want to try to make Syria predominantly Sunni controlled and try to blockade any Shia or Iranian influence inside Syria. For Turkey, that makes a lot of sense, and it just falls in line with Erdogan's, long-term objective on Islamization of the rest of the world. Now, is this guy, reformed really or not? Only time will tell. I mean, so far he's been towing the line. He's been doing everything that we've asked him to do, which is good. He's faux pas here and there a couple times, but within the ranks, he's brought a lot of bad actors, which he's got to deal with within his government and his military.
Yeah, man, what a challenge. Oh, okay. So if and I interrupted you, you were going through a list of things there, but I was just curious about the guy himself. So go ahead.
Yeah. And so now we've got Lebanon. The president of Lebanon was with President Trump. I talked to him briefly before he went in with President Trump and afterwards. And, the Lebanese president is Christian, and he was a member of the Lebanese Armed Forces. I met with him last year in the presidential palace in Lebanon. The big ticket item here is Israel inside southern Lebanon has been maintaining its forces as a buffer. So now they've created 3 pilot zones where Israel would slowly withdraw out of these zones and then give the control to the Lebanese armed forces. Now, the agreement is supposed to be where Hezbollah, a terrorist group, needs to disarm before Israel leaves. And Hezbollah says, we will not disarm unless Israel leaves. So it's kind of a chicken and egg. They're kind of going back and forth on who's going to go first. And Israel does not want to pull out until they know that there's the Hezbollah has been disarmed, so they're not attacked in northern Israel.
Sure.
And so the president of Lebanon is, he came in with an ask, and President Trump was very gracious and basically said, we understand that Lebanon, has some amazing people, and it does. It's like Israel. a lot of highly educated people. But Hezbollah is part of the problem, and that problem ties back to Iran. So President Trump promised $3 billion to train and work with Central Command to train the Lebanese armed forces to essentially go in and systematically uproot and dislodge Hezbollah, which is going to be very interesting because that can cause some major internal rumblings inside Lebanon. So we'll see how that plays out.
So interesting. And give us, Rudy, just a quick history on Lebanon. I mean, this was a predominantly Christian nation at one point, right? And then, obviously went very Muslim, and then, we had the Beirut, all the stuff that happened in the last 40 years with America. But remind us of kind of some of that story.
So out of all the Middle Eastern countries, the largest number of Christians are in Lebanon per capita. Basically, in 1943, when Lebanon became independent, it had approximately 69 to 70% of the population was Christian. Wow. In fact, those Christians played an instrumental role in smuggling persecuted Jews by the Nazis through Lebanon into Palestine at the time. So they played a role in moving Jews and smuggling them through to protect them because they believe that they're kin. And that's some of my ancestors, actually. But what happened now over the years is Iran, after the Iranian Revolution in the late 70s, saw Lebanon as a potential way to get access to the Mediterranean Sea, but also to place itself where it can go against Israel. And so it took advantage of the Lebanese Civil War that started in 1975. And by 1982, Iran established Hezbollah, a party of God. And immediately after Hezbollah's inception, they attacked the American embassy in 1983, and then did the Marine Corps barracks bombing that same year, October of 83. I was there during that time where over 240 American soldiers were killed. So Hezbollah has been a terrorist group for a very long time. And President Trump's not playing around, so he's going to go after those guys as well.
Wow. Okay, man, so much there. And it's so good to learn those things because sometimes, obviously we just tend to think of what's happened in the last 5 years and label a lot of these countries with just that. I mean, even Iran, just thinking about the Persian history there. And so what would be, well, in fact, let's go to Iran. What is your read right now on the situation with Iran?
Yeah. So 2 seconds before I was going to say today in Lebanon, I forgot to say that there's 30 to 35% Christians left. So just to kind of put that out there.
Okay. So there's still a huge population there. Interesting.
There's still a good, decent population, but it's cut in half since 1943. On Iran, look, Iran is trying to, they're playing the game where they are trying to see if they can pressure us enough and drag their feet all the way through the midterms, hoping that the left will gain control of the House and Senate, and that would take a lot of pressure off of them, and they would feel like they can get back in control. Karg Island, which is an island in the Strait of Hormuz, is essentially the cash cow, the crown jewel for them. It produces, and through Karg Island, you have 93% of Iran's oil revenues output coming through there. And the IRGC, the Iranian Republican Guard, wants to maintain control of it because without that cash cow, that golden goose, they literally are not able to pay their war machine, which is all their proxies, like the Houthis in Yemen, the Hezbollah in Lebanon, and keep themselves very relevant in the region. So what they think is if they continue to put economic pressure by attacking all the Gulf states and our presence in all these Gulf states, that the world will turn around and say, okay, enough, United States, we need you to stop and pull back. But Trump has doubled down and said absolutely not, and has threatened to take Karg Island. If he does, essentially it'll be checkmate for the IRGC, and they will lose all their money and not be able to essentially fund their war machine. So internally in Iran, they're very divided, but the IRGC still controls the bulk of what's going on. All these missiles, all these attacks that are happening right now. So because they're trying to attack us the United States and our allies on the economic front, we are doing the same thing to them. We're taking out railroads, bridges, all the key, basically segues that come into Iran to keep them relevant. They can't resupply their supplies for missiles, anything that keeps the population going. So we're slowly, not slowly, but we're increasing the pressure now to economically strangle them back. And we're going to win this fight. We can outlast them far more. They can outlast us. But they still haven't figured that out yet. So this is where we're at.
Yeah, back up to Kharg Island again. What are the downsides? Like, why haven't we just gone ahead and done that?
Well, the threat and just controlling, basically blockading anything coming in and out of Kharg Island is already sending a message to them. So, we don't, Kharg Island, China gets a lot of its oil from Kharg Island. Other countries also rely on oil coming out of Iran from Kharg Island, but primarily China. And so, we also have to play that diplomatic dance between us and China as well. So we haven't gone into Kharg Island yet, but we're very close, and President Trump can pull that trigger any day. And once we do, you have 30,000 workers on Kharg Island. You still have to manage that as well. So it would require a little bit of a lift on our part. Doesn't mean we can't do it, because the Marines are very good at it. But obviously, we'd be putting people in harm's way as well. So that's why the president's been waiting a little bit longer.
Yeah, it's obviously a huge step up, but it just seems like it is the linchpin. And I guess, from a diplomatic perspective, it could be just too big of a slap in China's face, I guess. And but it seems like they would want to stop dealing with crazy people too. Aren't all the people that benefit from that? Wouldn't they rather deal with a rational player, or do they like the instability because it makes them more powerful?
No, it's not that. It's because they were getting basically crude oil at a major discount. So
okay, if it goes to an actual market situation, that's going to increase their economic burden.
Yeah, they were getting it at 20% discount. So, you add 20% on billions of dollars, it starts to add up.
Quick break, friends. We'll be right back. Rudy Atala, our special guest. You're listening to At the Core with Mark Wildmon and Rick Green.
Be anxious for nothing, but in everything, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. Let your requests be made known to God. My name is Abraham Hamilton III, and this is the Hamilton Minute. We all face situations that can provoke anxiety. Thankfully, God knew that, so he prepared us for it on the front end. Prayer and continual gratitude are two components God has prescribed to fortify us, but there are additional components. Verse 8 of this same chapter directs God's people to refuse to give safe harbor to lies. Instead, whatever is true, honorable, right, pure, lovely, excellent, and praiseworthy is what God directs our minds toward. Being in Christ, indwelled by the Holy Spirit, gives us the ability to feast on what is true.
Listen each weekday from 5 to 6 p.m. Central for the Hamilton Corner with Abraham Hamilton III, public policy analyst for the American Family Association.
Candace talks about finding out she was pregnant. Thankfully, an ultrasound provided by Preborn allowed her to hear her baby's heartbeat.
The sonogram sealed the deal for me. My baby was like this tiny little spectrum of hope. And I saw his heart beating on the screen. And knowing that there's life growing inside, that sonogram changed my life. I went from just Candace to mom. Thank you to everybody that has given these gifts. You guys are giving more than money. You guys are giving love.
Preborn currently has clinics that do not have ultrasound machines. Would you consider a leadership gift and sponsor a machine today? These life-saving machines cost $15,000, more than most centers can afford. Your donation will save countless lives for years to come. Dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby, or go to preborn.com/AFR.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tim Wildmon, president of American Family Association and American Family Radio. Hey, we've got some great tours lined up for March of 2027. We've got one tour we call the Footsteps of Paul tour. That's mainly in Greece, or only in Greece, including Athens and Corinth and Thessalonica. And then we've got a separate tour to Italy, where we're going to Venice and Florence and Pisa and Rome and all the sites of Italy. So you can do both of these tours if you want to. We've arranged that as well. Also, this tour of Italy, it's not like the Olive Garden tour of Italy. You know, we're really going there to Italy to see Italy and to eat Italian food too as well. So for information on any of the tours I've mentioned here, go to tours.afa.net. Tours.afa.net, tours.afa.net.
At the Core podcasts are available at afr.net. Now, back to At the Core on American Family Radio.
We're back here on At the Core with Walker Wildmon and Rick Green. Rudy Atala, our special guest, jumping right back in that interview with Rudy.
So anyway, there's the economic piece, and then there's the strategic piece. I mean, the Department of War is doing an exceptional job right now hitting targets, but at the same time this is happening, we're doing layers of attacks. So the way we do is we fire missiles, we take out their radars, anything that they can see. Anytime, then you have F-16s and F-15s that follow through with another strike package. So anytime they turn on their radar to look for missiles that are coming from our side, our F-16s pick up on them and they strike them. So we're doing all this, but at the same time this is happening, there also is a growing problem internally to Iran. Well, several growing problems. They're in an economic free fall, number one. And number two, they also have Iranian Kurds that have been fighting with the IRGC. Since February until now, they've had over 850 different skirmishes between the Kurds and the IRGC. And just recently, the Kurds have killed 2 IRGC members. And so it's been a tit for tat, but they're starting to increase that, seeing that, Iran, the regime, has been at its weakest in over 47 years. So they're trying to take advantage of that as well.
Yeah, man. I mean, obviously impossible to predict, but, the big underlying question that we've had from the beginning is it actually possible to remove the Islamic regime completely and get back to a constitutional monarch of some kind in Iran? I mean, that's so many factors there, but is that even in the realm of possibility in your mind?
I think it is. It's going to take time. The problem is like 85% of the population hates the regime, but they won't speak out. But you need to arm them. You need to give them somebody that with strong leadership. Israel's been working on it for a while, but I think we're seeing that, if we can really collapse the big monsters within the regime, that 85% of the population may be able to rise up at some point and really push back. And I think that's a possibility over time. I think the regime right now, the trajectory it's on, it's literally choking itself. I mean, because of the economic pressure they're trying to put on us, we're putting it back on them. And we're doing it in such a strategic way that sooner or later they're basically going to be done. There's nothing will be left for them to stand.
Man, that's the big one. That's the big one. Well, a couple of minutes left. Any other area hotspot we need to inform people about today? I know you got a million, but if you had to pick one, what would be another one?
Yeah, segueing a little bit away from the Middle East, there's a lot happening right now between Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine has been on this tear of hitting all the strategic spots inside Russia where they're sending these long-range drones and they're striking all the oil production facilities, inside Russia. And so the Russians are basically, taking a real beating right now by the Ukrainians. But what's really interesting is this Russia-Ukraine thing is also playing out in parts of Africa. Currently, it's playing out in West Africa and Mali, where Mali's been controlled by a lot of Islamists. And on one side of the equation, you have the Ukrainians. On the other side of the equation, you have the Russians. And so I think we're going to start seeing a little bit more of that play across different parts of Africa, not only in Europe. And that's going to be an interesting thing to watch and see how, Ukrainians target those resources where the Russians are getting, the critical minerals and the gold and the stuff like that to keep the war machine going.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. And I'm guessing, last question I've got is this drone warfare that's happening over there. that in many ways has helped us almost see and prepare for this next level of warfare. Am I anywhere close on that? Like I've wondered if what's happening there in the long run can help our military prepare. I mean, so much of our technology is being used and tested and whatnot. I'm assuming almost by proxy, we're getting a chance to see that next level.
Yeah, I think the best, the Ukrainians have really surpassed everybody in drone technology because of the war they've been in. But we have a very good exchange with them. And what's really helped us out is it's helped us here in the United States. I mean, with the World Cup, I think the FBI, since the World Cup started until the final match, has thwarted hundreds and hundreds of drones that wanted to go over stadiums to film the matches and stuff like that. So we're employing a lot of the technology from the battlefield already on the domestic front. We're not 100% there yet, but the threat can happen here, and so we're employing it here, and then also we're learning from different parts of the world. But Ukraine-Russia war has taught us quite a bit.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Rudy, always a pleasure, man. Thank you for your time today. Thanks for the update.
Anytime.
All right, we're going to welcome now Chris Dunham. He is the Dean of the Patriot Institute at the Patriot Academy campus in Constitution City, Texas, and just an amazing patriot and my good friend for more than 30 years. Chris, thanks for coming on.
Good to be again with you, Rick. I know we're just crossing paths trying to get a lot of what we have accomplished in the last 2 years to the next level. So I'm excited to see what the good Lord has in store for us.
Well, it's so exciting to see what the kids from last year, our Patriot Institute, we did our second year for listeners that aren't familiar with what we've been doing. Of course, Patriot Academy around for a quarter century, and Chris has been a part of that for 20 years. And we used to do it. We had them for 1 week. Chris, we always would say, man, if we just had them for a year. And now we're about to enter our third year of doing that and having them for a year. And it does make a big difference to have that extra time with them. And of course, you're the dean. You're the one that gets the most time with them. Pretty rewarding to watch the growth in their lives, huh?
Yeah, in fact, funny you bring that up, because as we're working on the curriculum and doing a lot of the assimilation, one of my scholars from year one, and I say it's almost like our kids as we see them grow, but
that's right.
Yeah, Sydney has been my curriculum specialist and research assistant now, and so she's helping us put together. And I was just watching her growth from how a shy kid she was, and now she just she can second guess me in what we need, and it's just a joy.
I actually got to see Sydney for just a few minutes at the Idaho Capitol last week. I didn't get to be there for much of the Leadership Congress there, but she was there, and it was really good to see her. But yeah, that's been one of the coolest things is not only these students, they come through the 1 year institute, they get the apologetics, they get the history and leadership skills and speaking skills and all those things, and we see them go into every kind of field you can imagine, medicine, politics, all of that. But we've seen so many of them come on board with Patriot Academy or go join Wall Builders or American Journey Experience or these other really culture-changing institutions. And so they initially come just to get some training to find their purpose, but then we've seen so many of them become a part of the mission with us. That's really cool too.
Yeah, and I vividly remember when we began this journey, the whole concept of the Institute was, and I tell them this on day one when they join, I said, listen, you know what? For every step you take forward, we'll take one right behind you. God forbid you ever fall, we'll be right there to catch you. Don't be afraid to succeed. And I think we've built this Institute as a wall behind them, even after they've come and been with us and left. So the community has followed them, and our mentorship and all that has gone a long way. I've had the chance to officiate 3 weddings already of our group, so
man.
That's been fun. And of course, but yeah, as you mentioned, apologetics and all, as I'm looking at the curriculum and all that, I think it's much needed in this day and age of the culture that is shifting around us in such a rapid way. And the influx of people. I'm an immigrant, and I, did it legally. So I'm not against culture assimilation, but I just think the Christian worldview that we present, not only do they need to know what they believe, but they need to understand what others believe so they can give a good defense and do it with humility and kindness. So
yeah, amen. Amen. And it is such a challenging time for even just knowing who they are, knowing who we are as a nation, knowing what it means to be an American, what it means to be a Christian. Those are all big, big questions that are being challenged in crazy ways online. Of course, what they're dealing with social media and everything else. And so this institute really gives them a place to get grounded and not only grounded, like you said, in what they believe, but understanding the rest of the world, and then having the incredible relationships and interactions and sharpening each other. For listeners that maybe aren't familiar or maybe haven't even been to a leadership congress or seen any of the things that we do, patriotacademy.com is the website. But if you go to patriotacademy.com/institute, then you can learn more about this academic year. Basically, it's the 1st of October through late May. And we have room right now. In fact, we have scholarships available. And so check that out. You may have some young people in your life that you're thinking of, even as Chris and I are talking about this. Send them to the website. Give them a chance to learn more about it. There's some videos they can watch what it's like a day in the life of an Institute scholar and see how the year breaks down. Chris, we got to take them at the end of the year. I guess it's only been a month and a half ago that we took them to D.C. for their end-of-year trip. We had planned a trip to Israel, and, of course, everything happened with Iran, and we couldn't go. And so we had an amazing trip to Philadelphia, to D.C. They got to see so many things, and you got to take them on some of that, including the Bible Museum in D.C. We got to take them to the Capitol for a late-night tour. What was that like after you had spent all that time teaching them and just having the around the fire discussions and the walks across, the campus? I mean, you built great relationships with them and poured so much into them.
You had mentioned D.C. and they didn't know, many of them didn't know that I was going to be there. So I'd flown up there and actually was at the Bible Museum before they got there. And when they got out of the van, how they ran and hugged me in the middle of nowhere, just so excited. And then they dragged me to different parts. And then I got a chance, I told them as a special provision, I bought them extra tickets, and when we wanted to see the Dead Sea Scrolls, so I took a separate group from that, and they were just so happy to do that. But one of them said, "Hey, Mr. Denham, I want you to come with me to see the Jewish story of the walk to Emmaus." So that perspective. I just got a letter yesterday from one of our California grads who told me that offering a counter opinion and making them think differently was one of her greatest takeaways. And, these are things that, you and I have been doing this a long time, Rick. We do what we do because we're called to do it. But as Mr. Ziegler, our common mentor, always said, 5 years from now, when you receive a letter saying you touched their life, that's when you'll realize that you were really glad to have been part of that movement. So it is so exciting to see their growth and now getting feedback as they're a year or two removed. And then the new ones coming in as we're traveling to these leadership congresses, the siblings are getting excited. So I think, we'll have a really good conduit very quickly. So
what would you say, how would you summarize the academic portion? Let's talk about that for a second. Yeah. Just kind of what does a student expect, or a parent that's listening and thinking about sending them? I tell a lot of young people, the best thing to do is to do this before college so you know what you want to do and find your purpose. But even if you've already got your college degree, or we even had, I think we had 2 students this last year that had gone to seminary already. But kind of how do you summarize that year of the academic portion of it?
Yeah, as a what I tell people is, if you've decided college is not for you, or you've decided that you don't know, or you're absolutely sure that something else is on the thing, I tell the parents, just send your kids to us for a year and we'll give you back a better citizen, and whatever they choose, you'll be proud of. So that's one side of a guarantee. But as far as them coming on the academic side, we cover apologetics in great depth. We cover worldviews in great depth, from Hinduism to Islam to scientism to atheism, just about everything. And it's all baptism by fire, which means if I teach on Monday, by Wednesday, they have to present back to me on something they just learned 48 hours ago. So they're heavily steeped into doing research. We do Renaissance philosophy. We have added early American history, pre-revolution, and the people who have built America. We go through the financial people who built America, post-independence and post-Civil War. So what happens is we give them a good grounding of the 250 years that made this republic great, but then we add the parameters of the 5,000 years of global history surrounding that. I always tell my American friends that America is too young to have problems because most of our antiques are plastic. We are fairly brand new. But we bring them the global perspective. And I think the parents who come and sit in the gallery or attend the classes are quite fascinated by how we cover in depth a lot. And my own journey of about 80 different countries over 30 years has allowed me to amass the research and a good faculty of offering and things that we have managed to build together. So,
no doubt. And then we bring in incredible, guest speakers, Frank Gaffney on national security, of course, David and Tim Barton coming in, and Joseph Backholm, Mark Meckler. There's a lot of people that come and pour into them over the course of that year. And then the fun stuff, of course, they get these trips and they get handgun training, they get, all kinds of fun stuff. And I've always said, I think the most important, or I guess, epiphany moments for them tend to be around the fire or sitting in the coffee shop, talking to you or me or each other. I loved watching them just sharpen each other this last class. There was something special there where they just elevated the intensity. They held each other accountable. It was really... it was a camaraderie that I guess we saw a little bit of that in the first year, but it was a smaller class.
Right.
This one, it was just really special, and I'm hoping we can recreate that this next year as well. But that was cool. You saw it more than I did, but even in the debates and the different things that happened, they really learned from each other as well.
Absolutely. And I told them, if you can't learn around the fire, set yourself on fire. At least other people will come to watch you burn. So,
That's right. That's right.
But and I think based on what Reagan and Faith are telling me, I think, we've got a healthy interest already. We've received a good number of applications already. So I'm excited about that. But like you said, the scholarships that are being offered right now, this is a very generous side of what our donors do for us. That if anybody is wanting to consider this, go to the website, as Rick pointed out, that patriotacademy.com/institute, and you'll see a brand new website that is built up there, which has kind of up-to-date information on just about every aspect of the Institute. And I think we're way ahead of where I thought we'd be 2 years into it, but I'm really grateful that we get a chance to do this.
So important, man. So important. This is, I've always kind of somewhat jokingly said this is the Navy SEALs of civics training. It's like the BUDS, BUDS training's about a year long when the SEALs go in there. And in many ways, this is, the mental side of that and preparing them to kill bad ideas. Instead of killing bad people, they kill bad ideas. And just being ready to answer, that scripture in 1 Peter 3:15. I mean, it's literally learning how to answer well for the hope that is within. Quick break. Stay with us, folks. We'll get the conclusion with Chris Dunham when we come back, and I'll tell you the rest of the story.
The American Family Association's mission is to inform, equip, and activate individuals to strengthen the moral foundations of our culture. We also support the church. Our goal is to be a leading organization in biblical worldview training for cultural transformation. We believe true morality flows from biblical principles and directs people to the manner in which God intends them to live.
Thank you for standing with the American Family Association as we seek to stop the erosion of godly values.
If we lose this cultural war, we're going to have a hedonistic, humanistic society.
Discover the story of the culture warrior Don Wildmon and how he went head-to-head with Hollywood, Playboy, the homosexual agenda, and the Disney empire. The movement Don started paved the way for Christians to boldly stand for truth and righteousness in a hostile culture. Watch Culture Warrior today for free. Visit culturewarrior.movie.
They say when life hands you lemons, make lemonade. But what do you do when it feels like life is throwing the lemons at you full force? That's kind of a funny way to think of it, but there are times when there's so much going on in the world and it's happening so fast, you don't know where to go for answers or for encouragement. The solution for that is simple: American Family Radio. You'll find out what's happening and why, what you can do to take action, and it's all from a biblical perspective. What better way to find hope in the middle of a bombardment of lemons? Over the air or with the app on your phone, tablet, Roku TV, or smart speaker, you have AFR at your fingertips pretty much anywhere. And with the podcasts of each program, you can catch up on anything you missed or listen to it again. If you're new or if you've been with us a long time, visit us today. Stop by afr.net. AFR,
This is John MacArthur with more Portraits of Grace. How do you think you would react if someone threatened you with bodily harm? Well, like most of us, you'd probably display a certain amount of anxiety, stress, and maybe anger. Well, let's look at how Stephen, the first Christian martyr, dealt with that circumstance. As Jewish leaders pelted him with rocks because of his faith, Stephen looked up to heaven and said, "Lord, do not hold this sin against them." Stephen reacted that way only because he believed in God's sovereign control over his life and death. In fact, before Stephen's enemies began to stone him, they saw his face like the face of an angel. That is evidence of the supernatural tranquility he experienced by being in the Lord's presence. So if you want a role model for how to handle trouble, look at Stephen. He's a portrait of grace.
At the Core podcasts are available at AFR.net. Now, back to At the Core on American Family Radio.
Welcome back to At the Core with Walker Wildmon and Rick Green. I'm Rick Green, America's Constitution coach. Quick conclusion to my interview with Chris Dunham.
Confidence. That's the other thing I was going to ask you about, is just watching their countenance and their confidence from the time they arrived in September, October to the time that they graduated in May. Speak to that a little bit, how you saw that growth in them.
And and one of the formulas we give them is we say, just having confidence without the competence allows you become arrogant and you become overconfident. That's when Buster Douglas knocks out Mike Tyson. But we teach confidence plus competence, and that allows them to win every time, all the time. So that confidence and competence, the way we offer it to them is the will and the skill. Bobby Knight often said, the will to win is nothing without the will to prepare to win. So we get them as excited about the preparation process as much as the execution is fun, and they love the speaking and they love traveling with us and they love doing the things that we do. I want them excited about preparation, and I've shown that's one thing that you have to do by visual example. So they see me preparing, and we have a running challenge in class. I said, if any of you ever beat me to class, I'll send you a $50 gift certificate. And so far in 2 years, nobody has ever made it to the class before me.
So I cannot say the same, for sure. Oh man, and just the fun of it too, man. I think we create a really good environment. The Lord's blessed us with the campus and just a great place for them to grow at this time. So yeah, parents out there that are listening, young people that are listening. Roughly 17 to 23. We do make exceptions. You can do it as your senior year. If you're going into your senior year of high school and you want to double up and get this kind of training, and like you said, Chris, this is master's level education that they're getting, and it really is will strengthen them whatever their career is going to be. But if you want to spend your senior year with us, or you finished high school and you're looking at college, or you're wanting to just figure out what you want to do with your life, or you already know perhaps that the government realm is where you want to be, and this would be a great place to get some good grounding on that, or you just want to strengthen your faith and get a better foundation there, all of those things can be met. And like we said, these 27 that graduated last year, they went into just about every area of the culture you can imagine. So patriotacademy.com/institute is the place to learn more. patriotacademy.com/institute. Chris Dunham, the Dean of the Institute, thank you so much for coming on today, brother.
Thanks a lot, bro. We'll see you soon.
That was Chris Dunham, the Dean of the Patriot Institute. He's actually in charge of most of the classes when a student comes and stays here for a full academic year. And I'm talking everything you can imagine to prepare them for life, to prepare them to be a difference maker, to prepare them, as I said earlier, to be the Navy SEALs of civics, meaning they're actually going out there and killing bad ideas. They're actually influencing the culture. They're living out the 1 Peter 3:15, be ready to answer for the hope that is within. These kids do it incredibly well, and I mean in every arena. Like, most of these kids do not go into politics. Everybody seems to think when they see what we're doing, and we call it the Patriot Institute, part of Patriot Academy, that they're all going to go into politics. But the reality is most of them go into business, they go into education, they go into ministry, They go into the arts. I mean, we have some that are comedians. We have some that have gone into literally architecture or art or music or making movies. We have many that are in the political realm in Congress and state legislatures. They're judges. They're serving in all kinds of offices. Many that go into law enforcement. We have the president of police association in a major city in Texas. And so it's really cool to watch them take what they learn. Because if you can imagine all those professions, but you go into that profession with a foundation in biblical worldview, in moral philosophy, apologetics, communication, biblical civics, leadership, health and fitness, personal mentorship, learning how to debate, learning how to teach. I mean, and not to mention some of the personal skills from getting, firearms training, learning how to defend themselves, getting emergency medical response training, vehicle maintenance. I mean, it's more than you can imagine for, one academic year, meaning, roughly the 9 months of the fall and spring semester. So check that out, patriotacademy.com/institute. And we are accepting applications right now. And I have some tremendous scholarships to give out. This is normally a $20,000 a year program. I have $15,000 to give to recipients in a scholarship so that they only have to pay $5,000 for their tuition. And so if you've got someone in your life, a young person in your life that you think that sounds like something they should do, or if you're a young person listening to me right now, get online and apply, because these slots will fill fast. In fact, we're in the middle of our National Leadership Congress right now. I've got well over 100 students here at the Patriot Academy campus in Constitution City, Texas, and they are doing all of these things, but only for a week. So this is our big National Leadership Congress, and most of our students that go to the Institute come from that National Leadership Congress. So there'll be a lot of kids applying. I'm sorry, I know I say kids, but these are 17 to 23-year-olds. There'll be a lot of young people applying this week, and we're doing interviews this week, and they are going to take those slots and take those scholarships. So get your application in quick, patriotacademy.com/institute, and we'll set you up with an interview, and you'll have the opportunity to learn more. You do not. It's not a requirement that you have attended a leadership congress. It helps if someone's attended one of those; they're more familiar with our programs. But there's no more to attend this summer. So if you want to attend the Institute this year, that is not a prerequisite. In fact, last year's class, we had 27 in that class, and there were several in there, probably 5, that had never attended a Patriot Academy event at all. They heard about Patriot Institute here on American Family Radio or on Wall Builders or on some other interview that I did, or some friend told them about it, and they saw what a valuable program it was and came and had an incredible experience. Last thing about the Institute, then I'll get to the major story that I need to share with you and ask for your help at the end of the program today, is that you don't have to be college age to attend this. You can be what we call a super senior. So if you are going into your senior year of high school and you are very mature and you are ready to do something like this, and you want to get college credit and finish your high school, your senior year at the same time, and you want to do it in a residence program like this where you're around other young people and you're learning these skills and you're getting master's level training, getting the context, figuring out your purpose, all those things. We had several of our students last year that were what we call super seniors. They were going into their senior year. They had already finished most of their high school, and they were just mature enough and wanted to learn these life skills and wanted to kind of start having that college experience, if you will, that on their own experience, learning to do life. And those students that were in that super senior category were outstanding. They were some of our best students of the year, and it's made us very passionate about this. And we know there's a need out there for it, and we want to invite you to be a part of that. So parents, students, check it out today, patriotacademy.com/institute. Learn more there. Okay, let me get to the story that I was telling you about at the beginning of the program today. I haven't been able to talk about this until now. It's been 2 weeks, probably the toughest 2 weeks of my life, frankly. I don't know how to describe this on the air. I don't know how to get across to you what it's been like. But as I mentioned at the beginning of the program, one of the largest and most dangerous Islamic groups in the country has been trying to purchase the cottages right next to the main Patriot Academy campus. We have these 40 brand new cottages that we had originally owned that property, and then made a deal with a builder to come in and finance it and build them and use them as Airbnbs, but also make them available to us as we were growing our program. And so we were leasing, and our students were able to stay there for the Institute and others as they came and visited our programs. Long story short, the agreement that we had with the builder basically fell apart, and the whole deal went south. And so he was going to turn it into just a full-blown Airbnb, and we were going to build other student housing on the main part of our campus. We have a 130-acre campus in Constitution City, Texas. This property that is adjacent to that 130, right next door, is 47 acres. And so it right now, 47 acres, has 40 cottages on it. And bottom line is the builder put it up for sale and actually put it up for auction. And as soon as it went up for auction, this this group, which I'm just telling you, they go all the way back to the Holy Land Foundation. Their contacts, their people, they have admitted they're a front for the Muslim Brotherhood. I mean, it's not good. It's very bad. And they build, and you've seen. I'm sure you've heard us talk about the fact that they are going in and buying churches that have gone under or moved or whatever. And so they're turning just recently in Virginia, right outside of D.C., 20 minutes from D.C., they bought a Baptist church and turned it into a mosque, and the mayor of that city celebrated it with them. Just crazy. Anyway, they love to go into these high Republican areas, these red areas, and in Texas, it's happening all over the place. So this was a very serious threat, a real threat, and we had to take it serious. So for the last 12 days, I have done nothing but ask for help to basically purchase the property from the builder and lock it down with a contract instead of it going to auction. And we were able to do that. We got enough to make the down payment, and we got the auction pulled down. It is now ours under contract, but we have to close by August 31st. So I have basically 30 days at this point to raise the rest of the money to close on this property. Now, here's what we did. Here's how we raised the money so fast. There are 40 cottages on the campus, on the 47 acres. And so we started asking people to just sponsor a cottage for $100,000, and they could then name the cottage after a founding father or founding mother of their choice. And of course, be honored themselves inside the cottage and thank them for making that happen. And believe it or not, we had 24 people step up and do that. And so we were able to get enough of the purchase money to get this thing locked down. We have 16 cottages left that need a sponsor. So if you're listening to this and that sounds like something you might be able to do, or you can even do a pledge and do it over, whatever time period you need, we need those sponsors. But we also, part of the reason we were able to lock it down, it wasn't just the big money people that were able to do a full cottage sponsorship for $100,000. A lot of people donated whatever they could. They donated $50 or they donated $10,000. We had a lot of people that did $10,000 or $25 or $50, and some that pledged that amount and said, well, I'll just do it monthly over the next year. So however you can do it, however you can help, gets us to where we need to be in the next 30 days. And I don't ask for money on this program. I often encourage you to go to a Patriot Academy program, but I don't ask for money. I don't know if I've ever asked for money on this program. But we're in one of those situations where it just has to be done. When I say that, I don't ask for money for myself. I often promote other programs and other individuals or things that are being done, and so many good causes out there that we want people to support. But I think that as far as I remember, this is the first time I've ever asked people to donate money directly to Patriot Academy for something like this. And this is just one of those things. So please consider that. You can go to patriotacademy.com/donate, or just go to patriotacademy.com, and then there's a big donate button up at the top. And on the donate page, there's a drop-down menu because we have a lot of different projects going on, and there's an option for Patriot Student Cottages. And if you choose that and donate, it's going to go to helping us save these cottages, and I believe God's word. All things work together for good for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. And I believe he is turning this situation into a positive where it could have been a disaster. And I mean an existential threat. It would have destroyed Patriot Academy. It would have destroyed Constitution City. It would have been horrible for this county and for this area. It would have been literally giving in to this Islamic invasion that's happening in our country. Now it looks like there is a very good chance, if we raise enough money and we do this close by August 31st, that it will turn into a blessing for Patriot Academy, for the students that come through, the Institute students that Chris was talking to you talking with me about here on the air in the last segment and at the beginning of this one. All of that will be able to increase quickly. We'll be able to ramp up the number of students. We'll be able to have more go through and get this incredible training and go be the leaders in communities. So there are some very positive aspects of this if we step up. if we get the job done. And so again, it's housing, brand new cottages right next door to the Patriot Academy campus. We have a contract now. We got the contract this weekend, and I'm not kidding you. I sat at my desk and wept. I'm trying not to break up right now. It was a very emotional couple of weeks. As I said, the most trying maybe of my life. I mean, so many highs, so many lows. I mean, there was a moment where I was just so down and so worried about this. And I know we're not supposed to worry, and I don't have a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind, and all those things. But man, it was kind of like that song by Mercy Me, Even If, where he talks about, I can't remember the lines, but it's essentially, I've said these things to other people all the time, but now I'm going through the fire, and man, it's a lot harder to do it. Anyway, in the middle of this fire, I was having to do all of this while I'm on the road. I'm traveling. I got all these speaking engagements I have to, can't get out of and need to go do. And at the same time, I'm calling everybody I could personally, because I couldn't go public with it at the time. And so anyway, I'm just at this. This was kind of at the beginning of the situation, and I didn't have any significant support. No one had really stepped up, and it looked like an impossible lift, an impossible task. And I'm walking through the airport in Seattle, of all places. And I basically said to my phone, to my Siri or whatever, I said, find me the verse where Elijah just needs a nap and a meal. And I just need a nap and a meal, I think, right now. And so I listened to that entire chapter. And then I got back to my hotel. I crashed hard, and my phone wakes me up. And it's a dear friend in ministry. They called and said, he and his wife prayed over me, and they said, man, we want to give $100,000. And that began the sponsorship of cottages, because after that I thought, that maybe that's the right number. And if we get enough cottages sponsored, we'll have enough to stop the auction and potentially, finish the purchase. And so that was the beginning. God just, and actually got another phone call within an hour, same thing. And before you know it, we had 24 cottages sponsored. So we got 16 to go. And again, any amount helps. Any amount that you want to donate, patriotacademy.com/donate. Choose Patriot Student Cottages and help us save these cottages and use them to the glory of God, and not let them go into the hands of the enemy. I so appreciate you listening. Thank you for letting me even ask for help. I promise not to become one of those people that's constantly asking for help. This one is an existential threat, and we need your help. patriotacademy.com. Thanks so much for listening today. You've been listening to At the Core.